Hey, gang, today we're going to be talking about the crisis of many corporations in America where they're so indebted, not one times their annual gross, not two times, not three times, not four times, almost five times. And one of the homes that I want to be talking about, one of the companies I want to talk about is KB Homes because I'm a real estate investor and I've been forecasting since 2016 that the market's about to pop and we're in the popping section in the very beginning of it. Now, one thing I want to bring close attention to is that so many American companies are just leveraged, which means they're debt companies walking, they're debt skeletons walking. They're not a profitable business. The only reason they're able to have profits is because they're able to get into debt. If they couldn't get into debt, they would go out of business, they would go bankrupt. And here's a great example. Now, you can read about this in the article that was written by Simple Wallet, but I just took this little section out of it. Now, when I bring these articles in, you got to remember who owns these corporations that are writing these articles, because if you follow the money there, you understand the propaganda that they use to fool investors to invest into these businesses. Okay. Um, First and foremost, when they write these articles, they're not going to just come out and say all the bad news, because just four or five companies own all the medias in America. So they're going to give you a little bad news and a lot of good news to cover it up. So you have to be a astute individual and dig deeper and read between the lines to see the truth, because the truth is diluted with a bunch of fictional BS. Now, let's dive in. What I first want you to look at is says that KB Homes has a liability of, let me go ahead and undo that real quick. It says it has a liability of $1.25 billion that is due within a year. Okay. This is not million, this is $1 billion. Then it has another $1.55 billion that's coming up. Okay. Now, the crazy thing is that they only have $183 million in cash. So when you look at this, you're like, oh man, that's a lot of money, $183 million in cash. Okay, that's why they put that out there. It's a filter, it's a focus point to get your attention off. But the truth of the fact is, if you add the $1.22 billion, this one right here, and if you add this up, this is how much the company's in total debt. When you add those two up and you subtract the $1.83 billion, you can see that's just like a penny. That's just like a $10 bill, $100 bill. Is nothing when you compare it to billions, because you need a lot of millions to make a billion. Okay. So what is really happening is that KB Home is indebted 4.7 times than what it basically brings in. Simply put, now you can get into all technical and they define it here for you what these meanings are, but I'm just trying to make it simple. So what that means is KB Home has 4.5 times the debt that it brings in as for a business. So let's say I bring in, just make it simple, $10. I'm KB Home, I just bring in for the year $10. So that means I'm indebted $50. So I bring in home $10, but I'm indebted $50. Who can make it? No one can make it with these odds, man. No one can make it unless the system is rigged and there's more debt and funny money. So when the Fed relaxes and does lending, it lends out to big corporations. It doesn't lend out to you or to the mom and pop business shop or the guy that's having two jobs or the girl that has a college degree. It lends out to you, but only on stupid stuff like consumption. It won't allow you to have more than four rental passive income properties. That's why it's hard for investors to get into rental business. It lends out to Warren Buffett's, it lends out to big corporations that are just filthy elite, not because they have a sound business, not because they have great products, only because they could get funny money. Again, only because they could get free money at ultra low interest rate, while the average person has to worry about their FICO score and this and that. Big corporations, no matter if they're indebted 5 times. So, for example, again, let's make it simple because billions is so hard to figure it out. These guys make $10 a year and they owe $50 a year. You can see that for every dollar they own, have in their pocket, they are indebted almost 5 times. So $5, they're indebted, they own $1. And this is the economy that we have in America with many different corporations that the reason they are where they are is because they are indebted, because they are borrowing money to make manufacturing, to make labor, to buy the land, to buy the lumber. It's not because they have a profitable business that actually is producing stuff and is very competitive and is being able to, flourish, is being able to grow naturally, organically. Their only reason they're profitable, the only reason they are making money is because of easy money debt. And that is crazy because you have this going on with corporations, you have this going on with gurus, you have gurus coming on TV, on YouTube, they're showing you their cars, they're showing you their jets, they're showing you all this stuff. But no one ever asks, well, how much debt does this guy have? Because my moving company that I basically closed down and give most of my stuff to the homeless people was making over millions of dollars a year. And even though it was just such a small company, the KB Home, I was a richer guy. My business was a richer company than the KB Home because let's say it made $1 million a year, it had zero debt. My trucks were paid for. There was no credit card. It was zero. Well, who cares that these guys make billions of dollars or millions of dollars in revenue? They're in debt billions of dollars. They're in debt whatever they make. If they make $1 million, they're in debt 5 times that much. If they make $100 million, they're indebted 5 times that much, 4.7. If they make $1 billion, they're indebted 4.7 times, almost 5 times that much. So this is what's the problem with our society is that we put priority on debt growth, again, debt growth, versus on priority on people that are financially free, people that use imagination and creativity and they buckle their belt, people that use heart and devotion to be their dreams in America without a stinky banker, without a loan. And you know what? The media, the TV, the newspapers, the schools, social media, the gurus all want to reflect on the bling bling, which is really a debt race. Really a debt race. Really a rat race. But everyone's trained, conditioned through education, indoctrination to believe that to be free or to have success means you have to get into debt. And yes, if you get into debt and if you are KB Homes, you can have all these employees, you can have fancy cars, the CEOs can drive billions of dollars in revenues for salaries, they can have $1 million cars, etc. But the people holding the bag, the stockholders, people that have invested in their pensions, their 401s, etc. Those are the ones that are going to be sticking the bag when the whole thing collapses. And that's my whole point, that many elites get to run off and have luxurious businesses and have a lot of accumulation of stuff, boats and yachts on your token, on your money, on your retirement. And I don't think that's fair. I don't think it's fair for companies to risk looking so good, having such a big growth when it's all fake through debt. They don't have good products, they don't have good services, but they grow just because of debt. They grow because of fake stimulus. And just like 5-hour energy, that when you go up by taking the product and then you crash, then you go up by taking the product, then you crash. One day you're going to have a massive heart attack. You're going to have a massive heart attack. Your heart can't take this. Same thing with the society and the corporations that we live in, because one day these guys are not going to be able to pull the ship up when you have 5 times the debt that you bring in from your yearly gross. That's crazy, guys. And that's the society we live in. Now, you can look at the gurus on Facebook. They have planes, they have cars, but no one ever asks them, how much are you indebted?
How much do you make versus how much are you indebted? Because I can tell you this, my company that I started with $100 living out of my car back in college, that I eventually just closed it down and give all my stuff to the homeless. But when I didn't have the business, it made $1 million plus, but it had zero debt. I didn't have any debt. So my small business that had $1 million in debt is actually more profitable than KB Homes. It's actually more profitable because it doesn't matter how much millions and billions of dollars they gross and they make, they're 5 times that much in debt. So when you add the debt, subtract from the actual money that they have in reserves and what the company's worth, it's going to be upside down. It's negative. It's a dead company walking. Where I may only have $1 million business, right? And just a small guy, but there was no shareholders. There was no bank holders. There's no note holders. I'm the only guy. And if you add up the debt that my company had, which is zero, and the money that I made, I'm well off than any of these Fortune 500 companies that we see that have 5 times, 10 times, 11 times the debt that they bring in. Again, it doesn't matter if you bring $1 million, if you bring $1 billion a year. If you have debt that's 5 times, 10 times, then your company is non-existent. It's not even your company. It is the banker's company. And then the only way the company survive is by selling stocks. That it's eventually going to be harder to sell stocks of KB Homes than flavored broccoli ice cream, guys. Because why is that? Because the shit is upside down. No one in their right mind would put their money. Now, millions and billions of people buy into that, but that's because they're all sheeps. They've been all conditioned into the hype of fake stocks and things that they don't even control. And they don't even know that the companies are not even making money. They're thinking they're growing so much and they're growing so much and the stock value is going down. But the truth of the fact is the company's belly down. And I'm not picking on KB Homes, guys. I'm talking about in America, all over America, you're seeing the same things happen to corporations after corporations after corporations. And that's why you are seeing Ford not making cars anymore. That's why you see GMC not making cars anymore, because they make shitty products, and the only reason they were able to grow is because they had massive debt, and massive debt. And now they can't even do that with the debt because the Japanese made cars are spanking their butt. Even if they can get free cheese money, stimulus money, right? They can't compete. And that's the situation in our society. We have people in debt, corporations in debt. And the truth of the fact is our economy is, I would say, 10% of what it really is. Because the other 5 or 9%, or 5 times or 9 times, is just debt growth, right? And that brings into the ups and downs. That brings into separation of the middle class from the elites. That brings the working class working all the time. That means that people with college degrees cannot make a living working full time. They got to get a second job, third side gig, etc. And that's why we living like this, is because of central bankers printing and Big Brother overspending in every direction possible, which then inherits the corporations do the same thing, the citizens of the people to do the same thing, and government, states to do the same thing. That's why we see so many states bankrupt or in the process of bankruptcy, right? Where they cannot fix their water system, right? Why they have so much police brutality, etc., guys. So the squeeze is coming on in all directions. But if you're listening to the news, they'll put a little truth in it, they'll cinnamon it up, they'll roll in a bunch of sugar, so you're not going to see the real bad news, but they'll tell it to you, but cover a bunch of good news, guys. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. If you want to get into real estate, then you should highly think about joining my profit sharing coaching, guys. We meet every Saturday from 10 to 11, right from your computer. Doesn't matter if you're in New York, in California, you're in Chicago, you're in Kansas, you're in Oklahoma, you're in Texas, you're in Denver. It does not matter. I have students all over, and what I can do is help you help yourself be your dreams in America. Thanks for watching, guys, and click the like button, share the message. Peace.